We have all of your Tesla stock news here in this video, and boy, is there a lot of exciting news to go over, including Larry Ellison, which on page 7 of Elon Musk biography does say, quote, this is from Elon. It says that in April, he snuck away to the Hawaiian house of his mentor, Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, accompanied by actress Natasha Bassett, an occasional girlfriend. He had been offered a board seat at Twitter, but over the weekend, he concluded that wasn't enough. It was in his nature to want total control, so he decided he would make a hostile bid to buy the company outright, talking about Twitter. He then went on Twitter and said, quote, "I made an offer," he announced. So Larry Ellison just said recently here that Tesla could have full self-driving vehicles within the next 12 months. I think that's some pretty big news we're going to bring to your attention. Now, on top of that, there's a lot of other big news to get into here in this video, but I also want to talk about Tesla's share price over the next couple of months heading into 2024. Take a look at some of my 2024 delivery numbers, what kind of margin I think that could have, what that could do fundamentally to Tesla's share price, and I think you're going to like the conclusion that we come to. First things first, let's start with Giga Berlin. The fact that Tesla just added 13% growth to Brandenburg. This says Giga Berlin and its pull in the automotive sector has made the previously economically weak state, Brandenburg, the strongest in Germany with 6% GDP growth in the first half of 2023. Quote, "Vehicle manufacturing has been a big boost to the economy," statistics expert Benjamin Gampfer told Reuters. That's the main driver why Brandenburg is so much above the national average. Hamburg achieved the second highest GDP increase with 1.7%, ahead of Lower Saxony with 0.9%. Volkswagen has its headquarters and largest production facility in Lower Saxony. Economist explains that Brandenburg's good performance with the success of the U.S. economy. Yes, that's Tesla. Quote, "The head of the IFO Dresden branch, Marshall Thum, told the Reuters news agency. According to the Hale Institute for Economic Research, gross value added in the manufacturing sector in Brandenburg increased by a good 13% as early as 2022 due to the Tesla effect. Congrats, Brandenburg. Congrats, Tesla, Germany." This all comes as Germany is in a technical recession, but not where Tesla has its gigafactory. Things are doing great in Brandenburg. Take a look at this clip. These individuals ask Elon if it would make sense to make a Model 3 Plaid. Elon Musk said no. He just responded to that last night and said, quote, "I just drove the performance Cybertruck today, and it kicks ass next level." So indeed, it looks like the Cybertruck performance is going to be coming. Is it Cybertruck Plaid Plus? Well, we don't know what the official naming will be, but this is pretty exciting for a premium Cybertruck product. We really don't have anything like that here on the marketplace today. It does look like Elon Musk also agrees with Sawyer Merritt's post here yesterday as well, or 2 days ago actually, September 21st, says the UAW strategy of having targeted strikes against the Detroit 3 aims to damage the company's reputations and keep them wounded for months, according to private messages written by a top aide to the union's president. Elon Musk just commented this. I would imagine that is a comment of agreement with Sawyer Merritt and these leaked private messages. Tesla's environmental impact permits for Giga Mexico are now officially approved. Tesla will have to comply with certain regulations during the construction set forth by the Secretariat of Environmental and Natural Resources, the National Meteorological, I can't say that, sorry guys, I just can't say that, and Secretary of National Defense. Among these conditions is that Tesla will not be allowed to clear the entire site at once and will only be allowed to clear the property in stages, which first reported on the approved permits, Tesla can only clear land that is required for the current construction. Tesla can then clear subsequent areas as the construction continues to expand. Which that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but hey, it looks like we finally have approval to hopefully break ground on Giga Mexico. And like a lot of people say, they probably had to pay you know who to get this operation rolling. Do you remember this video or this clip that we put out just yesterday where this woman walks up, keys a Tesla, shortly thereafter gets arrested, and as you can see comes out in handcuffs? Elon Musk says simply, don't mess with Tesla. Larry Ellison at the Oracle Cloud World in 2023, this just happened a couple of days ago, says, quote, and coming soon, very soon, in the next 12 months, complete self-driving cars from Tesla. We'll go ahead and roll that clip for you.
In the next 12 months, complete self-driving cars from Tesla.
Now, like a lot of people point out, Elon has said this many times in the past. The next 12 months, we're getting close, so on and so forth. But Larry Ellison has not said this publicly at all. So maybe this holds a little bit more credibility and weight to these words. Tesla has now welcomed SDG&E customers to the virtual power plant in San Diego, and now customers can join the platform and make money from their home battery energy storage. SDG&E earlier announced its customers can now help balance grid demand during spikes. Their household backup batteries and smart devices will supply power to the grid during demand response events. SDG&E has had 17 demand responses since it began running a pilot service last December. The average Ford F-150 monthly payment nears $1,000 in Q2 2023. Let me tell you right now, I would much rather be driving a Cybertruck, and even at that $1,000 payment, you can go out and get yourself, I believe, close to a Model S for that same amount. So a lot of these Ford F-150s, very expensive for what you're getting pound for pound. If you compare it to Tesla, I think Tesla makes a whole lot of sense. Toyota announces they're going to speed up EV production and aims for over 600,000 vehicles in 2025, according to a new report. Toyota Group's global EV sales were fewer than 25,000 last year. So for the biggest legacy OEM out there, which is Toyota, that sells over 10 million vehicles a year, 25,000 pure EVs last year is a very, very low number. And they are, what I would say, trying to play catch up here. And maybe Toyota is ultimately the legacy OEM that Elon was hinting towards on the last earnings call that is in talks to license full self-driving. Toyota has no software of the like. Really, even GM or Ford, they have their own set of software that could potentially become autonomous, like full self-driving, but Toyota does not. And Toyota would be the best automaker to have a FSD partnership with. They sell the most amount of vehicles. So this could be advantageous for both Tesla and for Toyota, and specifically for Tesla's share price in 2024. Now that is what I would like to discuss, because 2024 is right around the corner and Tesla's stock has been getting decimated the last couple of days, specifically on Friday. If you have not seen the video that came out earlier, I highly recommend you guys do. We break down exactly what's going on with Tesla and the broader markets a little bit more in detail, but if you did not see that video and you don't want to watch it, let me give you a brief rundown. So markets have figured out the Fed is fully incompetent of guiding the economy to lower inflation and a soft landing. You can't have both. And the Fed's not going to give up on inflation, so that means we're going into a hard landing. We're going into a recession. So anything that is sensitive to a recession, small mid-cap stocks, automakers, well, pretty much got destroyed on Friday. Tesla down 4.23% in regular trading, down another 0.29% in after hours trading, was not, as I would say, spared the rod of the pain in the market. So that's one thing that happened to Tesla on Friday and even the broader markets. But also, you do have delivery estimates that were around 473,000 deliveries for Q3, starting to come down to about 465,000. This is even after last quarter was 466,000 deliveries, and Elon said expect lower deliveries next quarter. What did Wall Street do? They expected higher deliveries than our previous record, which was last quarter, even though Elon said don't do that. So estimates are just coming down for deliveries. I put out my official estimate in the last video. I highly recommend you guys go check that out. We're not going to break down those calculations here in this video, but I do want to talk about Tesla's share price over the next coming months and heading into 2024. Now, the next couple of months, you guys got to remember, markets are pricing in a recession right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, how deep that's going to be, who it's going to affect the most, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So, I mean, automakers don't tend to do that well during recessions, so it would make sense why Tesla stock could trend lower. Now, my official estimates for Tesla's deliveries for Q3, around 440,000 deliveries. So that's about 20,000 less than where the estimates are probably going to be heading into October 1st when we actually do get that delivery estimate number. So that could cause downside in Tesla stock as well. Delusional Wall Street does as delusional Wall Street does. So that could push the stock down even lower. Now, it depends what happens in the markets from now until then. Earnings season this time around, starting in October, is going to be very important. You also have Q3 GDP, which comes out October 26th. Wall Street is currently estimating around 3% for Q3 GDP. If that comes in much lower, that could be a big problem for markets as well. So there's a lot of near-term problems out there, and the risk to reward in this market looks very bad. I think there's a 98% chance stocks continue to sell off, probably a 2% chance stocks can actually bounce and make an upside move from here and start to break out past the highs that we were at just a couple of weeks ago. So point in being, I don't expect great things over the next couple of weeks heading into 2024. Or at the very least, remember this, until the markets have clarity on one, whether or not we're going into recession, which it looks like you're starting to get that price into markets. That's why markets are falling now. But second question, how deep is it going to be? How long is it going to last? Markets are forward looking. So if we expect a recession within the next 3, 6, 9 months, then the markets are looking at that and saying, hey, we need to discount stocks now. So with that being said, you could overprice in a recession here in the next month or two. And then you could say, hey, maybe it's not going to be as bad as we expect. Maybe it's going to be like a, just positive GDP, negative, positive, negative. Not really seeing growth, but not really going into this deep, deep recession. So there's a lot of potential outcomes here. But the risk here is, Tesla stock's probably going to continue to sell down. But that's where you need to bring up a fundamental kind of thesis for 2024. And I think the fundamentals look great. The estimates are far too low for Tesla. We'll get into that here in just a second. But your major levels on Tesla stock, the 100-day moving average, that's at $238.29. I do believe over the next couple of days, next week or two, you're probably going to fall under that. If deliveries do come in around 240,000 and Wall Street is expecting 263,000 by October 1st, well, if you come in at 440, Tesla stock could easily drop to about 200. Now, anything under 200, I think the markets are going to be in a kind of state of free fall. So it would be everything selling off, and then you could fall as low as about 180. Now, if things got really bad, you could fall to about 160. I wouldn't expect anything under that, and if Tesla stock does fall to 160, that would be a level, or even 180 or 200. Those are levels in which you really want to be a heavy buyer, in my personal opinion. That's where Tesla stock could go. You're not going back to the lows, in my personal opinion. That's not happening. $200 per share, that's where I would put my estimate personally. but it's possible that if fear really started to set in the markets, you could drop lower than that. Now, as I broke down in the last video, Wall Street is currently expecting around 2.3 million deliveries next year for Tesla. That would be growth of about 22%. Now, Tesla has been following about 50% delivery growth. That would put your 2024 full year delivery numbers around 2.7 million. Now, if you did get 2.7 million deliveries, well, here's how the share price of Tesla could react throughout 2024. Now, first thing we need to do is say, hey, what's going to be the average selling price of 2.7 million vehicles? Well, that's very hard to say because we don't know what the Cybertruck pricing is going to be. Let's say about 50,000. So $50,000 times, too many zeros, times 2.7 million vehicles. That would be 135 billion in net income or net revenue. Now, if we go ahead and assume maybe a 13% net bottom line profit, which your gross profit on Tesla is like 19%, the net's around 13%. So that would really be no change from where we are now. That would just be 2.7 million deliveries with an average selling price of 50,000. That would bring you net income of $17.55 billion. Now, Tesla currently has around 3.4 billion shares outstanding. Okay, so divide this by around 3.4 billion. That's an EPS of $5.16 for next year. That's well above the estimates from a lot of analysts. I think a lot of analysts with their 22% delivery growth are just unrealistic. Even if it's not 50%, it's likely to be 35+%, even if we go into recession. I think it could be 50% or higher, given the Cybertruck and the halo effect that will have on Tesla's business. Now, $5.16 of EPS. Tesla currently has a PE ratio of about 70. That's after the sell-off that we have seen. So if you times this number by 70, that gives you a share price of $361 per share next year. Now, there's a lot of other variables that could go into this. You could sit here and say, maybe there is a licensing deal of full self-driving. Maybe the multiple goes higher. Maybe Tesla gets their margins up because their new batteries are a lot cheaper to produce. Maybe energy does very well. There's a lot of other outcomes. This is only factoring, again, even the auto business. So if you factor the energy storage business, that could be even more. That could add more to the EPS number. But again, Tesla's investing a lot. So there's a lot of uncertainties here. This is a rough estimate. I mean, from my calculations, if the margin stayed the same, but deliveries came in at 50% with an average selling price of $50,000, that could mean Tesla's share price could be around $361 as a fair value next year. Now, if you're able to pick up Tesla stock at 200, 180, if the markets do panic and they're fearful, that could be about 100% returns from some of the levels we could reach here in the next couple of months. That would be pretty dang good. Now, we know the story long term is much bigger than these numbers that we're putting up here, but even in the short term, I see some pretty big gains for 2024. Now, you could write these calculations differently. You could come to, if you did a let's just run them. Let's say 2.7 million vehicles times $50,000 as the average selling price. That would make sense to me. But we times this by 16. Let's say the net margin increases to 16% for one reason or another, full self-driving or whatever happens. That's 21.6 billion. Divide that by the shares outstanding of 3.4 billion. Then you're at $6.35 of EPS. Okay? Times that by, let's call it 75. Let's say the multiple increases a little bit for one reason or another. Then you're at $476 for Tesla's share price next year. These are all possible outcomes you need to consider. Even in a more bearish case scenario, let's call it 2.5 million deliveries. Let's say they don't quite hit their 50% delivery target. But let's say that, let's times it by 50,000 for the average vehicle selling price. You're still at 1.25 billion. So these numbers really don't change all too much. Go ahead and divide that by 3.4 billion shares outstanding. Then let's go ahead and times that by maybe, let's say margins get even worse. This would be like a bear case. Let's say 10% net margins. That equals out to 12.5 billion in net profits. Divide that by 3.4 billion as of the shares outstanding. Too many zeros there. Okay, 125 billion. Times that by 0.10, 12.5 billion. Divide that by 3.4 billion. And you come out to $3.67 of EPS. Times that by 70, you're looking at $257. That would be like a worst case scenario for next year. That would be if not a lot went right and a lot went wrong for Tesla. So you can still see if you get a drop in Tesla stock, even on a worst case scenario, you're looking at some pretty sweet returns for 2024. And that's what I would expect to see happen. So that's going to conclude it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you guys want to come trade with me live in real time, come hedge out your portfolio, come make some money on the upside, the downside, buy some Tesla, buy some other stocks, well, come join us. That might be the place for you. Link down below in the description of this video. My name is Michael Tyler. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.